Good morning. It's Sunday. We're still having a weekend, so we're still having a little bit of glow. Get your cup, set up, or lie down, whatever makes you happy. Whew, what a weekend. You know, here in Utah, the clouds have been so smoke covered, and it's been hard to breathe. It's been hard to feel motivation. It's funny how the air quality can affect how you feel personally, but it's kind of amazing that it does. And I'm going to work it into the thought today. I was very aware of how I felt yesterday, and it's been a really long week. I've been cleaning out a storage unit, and I'm going to pull that into my thoughts today too. So get ready, get your morning cup of tea, cup of joe, cup of juice, and get ready. I'm getting my cards ready here. This morning I'm using again for the weekend the Magical Mermaid and Dolphin set because I think we really need to have some magic. I think we need to have some flow and some water and just that feeling that water and ocean and creeks and everything brings to us. So I pulled a card. It's quite an interesting card. It's not really, but it's one that's hard to own, you know. So the card that I pulled today is self-forgiveness. And you know, I think we find it easy to say, well, maybe some of us do, maybe some of us don't. But I think it's easy to say I love you to someone else. But how many times do we look in the mirror or think about ourselves and say, I love you? There's lots of things that can stop us from saying that. The card here is a little mermaid. She's kind of in a dark cave. She's looking down, just not that feeling of brightness. Looking down is so different than looking up. The energy is so different. And it says, let go of old guilt and remember that you are God's perfect child. Guilt is dangerous. There's a few emotions that I think are kind of worthless. Now, guilt is not worthless when we've done something that we need to correct. If we hold it for a minute and hold it in proper perspective. Also, for those who have really wronged others, have done things to hurt people, I think it's okay for us to have that feeling to self-correct, to change our lives. But it's not meant to hold us hostage. It's not meant to ruin our self-worth. It's just meant for us to make change. Okay? So I'm going to read the little book here on self-forgiveness. I'm just going to put this up here so I can glance down at the book right underneath. Let go of old guilt and remember that you are God's perfect child. You've been very hard on yourself lately, using harsh words toward yourself, verbally and mentally. While it's healthy to hold yourself up to a high standard, this card says that you've boarded yourself in. Everyone makes mistakes, and it's not normal, and it is normal to feel regret occasionally. What's important is how you handle those mistakes. As you focus on your positive attributes, your self-esteem will increase and your stress levels will be diminished. Wow, that's huge. That's important. Let me read that again. As you focus on your positive attributes, your self-esteem will increase, self-love, and your stress levels will diminish. Wow, there's a prescription that doesn't cost anything. That's pretty amazing. Remember that guilt is the opposite of love. Your guilt doesn't help anyone or anything, but your divine love helps everyone, everywhere. Affirm. I ask that all effects of my mistakes be undone in all directions of time, and I now release the guilt completely. I love myself from top to bottom. Wow, can you imagine this world, how it would be if we were human beings that walked around with true self love? When you love yourself truly, then you love others. And if we walked around loving ourselves and loving others, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in, would we? What a beautiful world this would be. There's another thing that I thought was really great. Remember that guilt is the opposite of love. Your guilt doesn't help anyone or anything. If you're about service and helping others, remember guilt is the opposite of that. And you're fighting your own cause, your own good, if you are creating a bubble of self worthlessness or guilt around yourself. This is not uncommon, even for those who are striving. I think we're conditioned often to look at our weaknesses first and make corrections, and then acknowledge our strengths. But I would like to suggest that we focus on our strengths. Now, this is the biggest person this message for is me, okay? Because when I fix myself, then I function in the world, then everyone around me is affected. But the only person I can really change or have an effect on is me. That's the only thing I can control. And the only thing you can control is you. However, the way you are, the way you act, the way you feel, your way of being affects other people, and it affects the world around you. So, if you're loving yourself and treating yourself as a divine being, wouldn't it be wonderful if everyone around you saw that and felt the joy of that and chose just one vibration, one step higher of vibration? Our whole world would just dramatically change with just one little step at a time. It wouldn't have to be huge. It wouldn't have to be There wouldn't have to be picket lines. There wouldn't have to be self-deprivation. There wouldn't have to be any of these things. Just one step of self-love. If each person engaged, that would be amazing. So I want to share a little bit about how self-love and self-forgiveness. So I've mentioned through the week, I've been cleaning out a storage unit. It's been a 10-year storage unit project, okay? At the end of my first divorce, I got a storage unit and filled up my unit, and it held my 20 years of life. And it's been 10 years, which now holds another marriage relationship and ending. That's a lot of heaviness. It's a lot of guilt, negative emotions. My children's things are there too, some of them. And it's been hard for them to go and work through that stuff too, because everything we have is attached to a feeling. And I think one of the heaviest places in the world, like we walk through cemeteries, and we look at the people's names, and it represents death. But if you ever drive through a storage unit lot, I think it is like the opposite of a cemetery. And the cemetery would be the light side, and the shadow side would be the storage unit, because we bury and cover and store our old memories, and we go back and visit, and we don't honor them. we despise them. We look at the stuff, we growl, we groan, we feel sick, we close the door, and then we walk away. Much different than Memorial Day, right? Or we just go and celebrate and take flowers. So it was difficult for me to walk through my rubble, to look at all of the stories, and I still have a little more to do. However, the majority of it has been walked through. And I could pretty much disappear if I wanted to with all the negative feelings that that unit holds. The memories of what I would say were failures, things not completed the way I wanted to, broken families. But I could also look at the happy things. I could also look at the memories and think of the joys that I felt. As we were going through the unit, and one of my sons was there, I was explaining to him, as we were deciding to throw things away, I was, hi, someone just popped in and said, hi, I love that. I usually can't see it because my glasses don't show up, but good morning. Thanks for joining me. As we were going through our stuff, and my son was commenting and saying, oh, what a waste. All this time, all this stuff, and I'm just throwing it away. But most of it was going to be given to DI, where it could be given to someone else or Salvation Army. And I said, when when we're bagging these items and releasing them, they held something for us at a certain time. If we could look at those things and we could bless someone else's life and say, I loved this item, and now I'm blessing someone's life, instead of, oh, I'm throwing it away, oh, I'm getting rid of it. If we could do that, how wonderful would that be? Hold on, I just got a little message, and I don't know if they're saying they can't hear, so I'm going to see if I can stop some static in the room. Okay, so anyway, self-forgiveness. As we touch the items in our life, as we go through our stuff, as we go through our rubble, let us look at the positive. Let us look at the beauty, the lessons learned, and congratulate ourselves for having survived those incidences, for having passed through those storms. And they're remnants of the victory, that we're still alive, that we've made it. And those things that we're going to give up and pass on, let's maybe say, I love you, I bless you, and I'm going to share you. And bless someone else's life. Pass on some stuff that can bless somebody's life. I also want to thank my dad and mom for being such great examples of this. I remember, and there's nothing wrong with a yard sale, don't get me wrong, because I've had many and plenty and it's gotten me through. But I remember when we used to go through our old stuff and decide we were going to release stuff and give it away. And I would suggest that we had a yard sale. My dad would get really mad. And he would say, no, we're not going to sell that. We're going to give it. We're going to bless somebody else's life. Of course, if it was garbage, it was gone. But if it was still good and usable, then we weren't going to try to sell it. We were going to give it away and bless somebody else's life. And I think this really helps in the area of self-love. When you give of yourself, it adds to your self-love. When you release something that you have, when you bless it and release it, it adds to the world. It adds to the earth. So The thought for today is self-forgiveness. And I promise you that if you can look at yourself with higher self eyes, with the eyes of the divine, and love yourself and respect yourself, and look at the good and compliment that, and only speak of that to yourself and to others, your life will change, and so will the life of those around you. Now, I'm not suggesting to you anything that I'm not going to try and do myself. As I've said before, everything that I say to you, I'm saying to me first and foremost to me. So this is a challenge for me, self-forgiveness. I have a lot of feelings of regret or woulda, shoulda, couldas through my life. That's pretty common when you get to be my age, as you get older. But if I can look at my successes first and talk about those and think about those and memorialize those and make great memories, what a much better feeling, stress level, and energy level I will have to put out to you, to the world. So forgive yourself today. Love yourself today. There's nothing that any of us have done that can't be worked out through the divine love, through divine forgiveness, and mostly just letting it go. So let it go. Love yourself. Forgive yourself. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a cup of glow with me this morning. For those who are, this message is often channeled or left. It goes to the Soulful Guild Facebook channel. For those of you who are interested in a reading, personal reading, more than just a one card, you're welcome to email me. My information is there. I would love to spend time talking with you, giving you a personal reading, helping or coaching you through any situation that you might like help with. There's probably also a section on this YouTube channel. I haven't developed this channel as much as I would like to. I'm working on that. But I'm one of the older generation and I'm not a techie. So I'm learning all those things. And I haven't quite gotten this channel down yet, but I will. So go to my Facebook, The Soulful Guild, and if you would like, there's information there about me where you could message me if you would like to have more information or a personal reading. Thanks so much for taking the time to spend with me in the morning. And cup of glow to you. Refresh yourselves and enjoy the weekend.